Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Course in Miracles 365 Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomás Garza, and I hope that everybody had a fabulous weekend. And I hope that you did something that was very fun and relaxing, and that you didn't work too hard. Unless you really, really wanted to. All right. So it's Monday here in North America, and it now means that on this live stream, we're going to have a special focus of the day. So for the past couple of months, I've been focusing on a particular arena of life and relating the principles of A Course in Miracles to that idea. And that's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of really positive and fun comments, questions, and interaction right here on the live stream. So that is most definitely what I invite. If you have questions or comments on today's material or anything related to your own spiritual journey, feel welcome to post those here in the comment thread. I catch these live at the end of the broadcast here. After about 15 or 20 minutes, I'll look at these and say hello to you here live. And if you're catching me on the replay, I check these several times throughout the day. One of the things that's really, really beautiful about this is the creation of community. Now, if you're familiar with A Course in Miracles, you'll know that there are a lot of communities that have been built and are thriving based on this self-study course. It works really well when people do it together. It works really well when you do it all by yourself. And because we're highly social as human beings, there are a number of groups, there are a number of lectures and seminars, tons and tons of beautiful and very helpful published material. So what I'm doing here on Enlightened World Network is simply adding to the conversation based on my own experience. So if you're just tuning in to this live stream, what we're doing is every day but Monday, we're going through the workbook for students of A Course in Miracles. And for example, tomorrow we'll pick up right where we left off with lesson 112 tomorrow. So wherever you are in that journey, if you're going through that workbook or if you've done it in the past, feel welcome to start up again. So wherever you are, welcome. Understand that A Course in Miracles does not require that you jettison or abandon or let go of your current spiritual practice. In fact, if anything, it is a beautiful addition to someone's walk. And that's how I invite you to use it if you're not familiar with this material. So again, we're covering the workbook lessons on every day except Monday. So what we're going to talk about today is really, really timely. Here in North America, anyway, yesterday was Father's Day. It's the third Sunday in the United States and Canada, I believe. It's the third Sunday in June, which was yesterday here. And this brings up a lot because it's a holiday, and it brings up the topic of the day, which is our special focus, special relationships. Yeah, how about that? So, first of all, let's talk about what a special relationship is in Course philosophy. As you may have noted, for sure, A Course in Miracles takes a look at things in a very, very different way than we're used to. It uses terminology differently. And this is a very different look at what the Course considers a special relationship. So what does that constitute? Well, it's a relationship that often takes place in a family context or maybe in the context of an intimate partnership, like dating somebody or a marriage. Anyone that you're close with could be deemed sometimes a special relationship. So what does that mean? Well, it means, as a practical matter in the world, that we prioritize, don't we? We prioritize everything. We prioritize certain people over others. And we have certain expectations of people that we don't have. over others. Think about all of the dynamics in a family situation, which I'll be using as the primary example today. Think of the support, right, the love that ideally is present. And I hope that may be present for you. And I know for some of you, it's a mixed bag. For some of you, that may not be present at all. But we think of a family as, in general, more tight-knit than connections we have with somebody across the world whom we've never personally met, right? Within that context, there are expectations, aren't there, that get heaped upon everybody in the dynamic. Why? Well, it just kind of is the way that that works here in the world and your family situation. I invite you to consider it. Think about it here. Do you have a lot of that drama? I certainly do. I'm happy to share about it, and I'm going to in a minute. It's not unusual. It's not unusual because we're identifying with the ego. So identifying as a separate self, we see some people as more worthy of our love and affection or derision, as it turns out, than others. We categorize. It's a judgment. It is. It's a value judgment. It's a judgment. Yeah. We don't often think of it that way because we do have this common image of judgment as being harsh, as being unnecessary a lot of the time, sometimes wrong, hasty, cruel. Yet we make judgments, value judgments, all the time. We make them in the context of what the Course considers a special relationship. It means we've prioritized one relationship or many relationships over all the others. Here's where this gets us into trouble from a spiritual standpoint. So one thing that is worth discussing is that A Course in Miracles offers a pure, non-dual presentation of spirituality. Now, really, spirituality is beyond words. It's even beyond thought. So all we can do with the convention of language, with the communication device of language, is point the way for people so that they may experience the truth themselves. That is what spirituality is all about. This is pure non-dualism being described here in the Course. So what the Course is pointing at is, and it says in many places, is that there is no separation of any kind. A period. Only God is. Only love is, for that matter. If you prefer to see God as love, and many do, it's one and the same. In this thought system especially, it's one and the same. And what happens is, let's look at love. It doesn't recognize barriers, does it? It doesn't recognize barriers. If someone is in love with somebody, love does not care if they live in two separate countries. Does it? At all. It doesn't. It flows through all kinds of human constructs, like nation states. What's that? It's nothing, right? Political boundaries, political parties, governments, what are they? Nothing. Nothing. Love doesn't even recognize them, doesn't recognize them in any way, shape, or form, and in fact is not even capable of recognizing any limitations. It knows no limitations. This is ultimate truth. This is who we are. This is who we are. This is one of the things that makes A Course in Miracles so beautiful, and it's one of the things also that makes it so difficult to grasp for many. And there's a reason why this course is not more popular than it is. There are a number of people in the world today that are not ready or willing to go there. with these ideas. Now, I think you are, because you're watching this live. That tells me everything I need to know right here, that you were meant to flip this on and see me talking. It's not really me talking, by the way. You were meant to see and hear this message. There's going to be something that I will say or am saying right now. Possibly I just said it a couple of minutes ago. That's really going to strike a chord with you that you were meant to hear right now today. So welcome. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. All I do is show up and teach, which is the same as sharing from my experience. So there is no separation of any kind. What do we do with our personal relationships? Well, we categorize, don't we? We call a certain group of people family. It's a term, right? Family is a word. It's a word that we made up. It's a concept. If we're truly one, why do we treat some people differently than others? This is good and bad. We hold out family members for praise and extra love. And we also do extraordinary damage to those people. We place expectations on them that they can't possibly meet. Any expectation we place on somebody is based on the past. It is the past because we're basing our current prejudice, we're basing our current judgment, our knee-jerk reactions, the visceral type, all of that, we're basing that on something that happened in the past. Therefore, we form a label of somebody as wicked or judgmental or passive aggressive, or whatever term we want to use. So let's put this in context of holidays. This special relationship is what makes holidays so extra special, right? Extra special. They could be a joy, and they could also be an out and out scourge, literally a plague, depending on your situation. So in my own case, yesterday, I'm a father of two children. They're teenagers. They're 18 and 14. So Father's Day for me was actually quite relaxing. My wife, Cindy, and I spent a lot of time in the late afternoon and evening in the pool. We have a pool in the backyard. We live in Phoenix, Arizona, and it got up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 46 degrees Celsius. It's hot. It's hot here in June. We spent some time in the pool and had a really wonderful, loving conversation. It was very, very nice. So I had some nice experiences and some not so nice experiences. I left a very, very cringeworthy text message thread yesterday as a result of people deliberately trying to push guilt and excuses on other people. By the way, I called my father, who's 83 years old, and we had a wonderful conversation. So yeah, and I had beautiful moments and a cringeworthy moment where I decided to leave a group text thread that involves my sister, that involves my dad's wife, my stepmother, and her two sons, so my stepbrothers. And I have no need for guilt. I have no need for drama in my life. Maybe you can relate to this. So what the skillful thing is to do is simply and publicly bow out without comment, of course. Now understand that there is a lot of history that goes along with all of this. So there's backstory that we don't have time to get into, frankly, on this live stream. And I know that many of you, if not all of you, have a similar sort of situation with people. Why? Special relationships include a lot of judgment. In the family context, in work contexts, in the context of intimate relationships with your spouse, for example, maybe someone that you're dating or thinking about dating, if you're in the dating arena, there's many different ways that we categorize and single people out. So what's the solution to this? Well, number one, let's recognize that there is no separation of any kind. There's one thing to wrap your mind around that and begin to accept it. So what's the easiest thing to do? It's to practice that. That is why A Course in Miracles has us spend so much time and so much energy on the practice of forgiveness. If there is no separation of any kind, when someone acts out of fear, identifying with the ego, for example, right? Which is what all fear is, then if there's no separation of any kind, when someone's acting as though there were, they're simply mistaken. This is one of the beautiful things about the Course that differs from a lot of fundamentalist religious traditions, in that is that it's not seen as a sin or a transgression against us. It's seen simply as a mistake, as a call for love. Either we are extending love, which, by the way, extends itself, or we're issuing a call for love. So any egregious behavior, any guilt, cringeworthy behavior, I'm liking that word today, cringeworthy, that's my word, yeah. You know what I mean. That kind of behavior, anything like that is a call for love. So what then is the appropriate response? The appropriate response to a call for love is to extend love. That is what love would do. You know, WWJD, yeah. That's the appropriate response to a call for love, is to extend love. Now, understand, we mentioned a few minutes ago, love does not do anything other than extend itself. Automatically, instantaneously. It's not capable of the judgments that we place on other people and ourselves. This is the appropriate response. Now, we've had some really, really wonderful dialogue here in the family context here in the last couple of weeks on the show about difficult situations where one is not in the space to be able to forgive right away. Perfectly okay and totally understandable. Yeah, for me to get to the place that I am with my stepmother has been a journey, a long journey where I acted really unskillfully in the past. As a young man, I did not have access to these teachings. I had plenty of access to spirituality and an inclination to practice spirituality, yet my habitual tendencies, which were ingrained in me when I was really young, and this happens to all of us, were to lash out and do verbal combat with people. So I did that. I did that and eventually discovered that was not the way to handle anything for any reason. So it's been a journey. Do you have a journey like this? I'll bet you do. Now, the questions that have come up around forgiveness in a family context are, there's a lot of hurt, obviously, that goes on in these contexts. So if you find yourself in a position right now where you're really, truly, even in your own mind, unable to forgive somebody, that's okay. What the Course would have us do is to process that hurt, yeah, process the feelings, whatever those are, of guilt, possibly, of betrayal, anger, sadness, rage, blame, frustration, name the adjective. We process those. I mean, literally, I'm going to use the word process again, but it is a process. We cannot expect ourselves to just up and get rid of all of this immediately. So what the Course would suggest, and I would also suggest, is that you give yourself some grace and have patience for yourself. Minimally, if you're in a situation where it's really difficult to forgive family members, understand that forgiveness takes place in the mind. You actually don't have to call them up and forgive them. You don't have to send them a message on Facebook Messenger or an email or text them or anything. It's all done in your own mind. And it's a process. It's a process because some of these contexts are highly abusive. People have behaved in really, really atrocious, malicious, mean, and hateful ways. This is what happens in special relationships. And the solution to that is your spiritual practice. Forgiveness plays a central role in spirituality in general, across the world. It is an attitude that is most definitely worth adopting. And what I recommend is that you start where you are. If you're unable to forgive someone in your family who behaves poorly, then start with what you can forgive. Yeah, and start by acknowledging how you feel about it. Spirituality is not, it's not rainbows and unicorns. If you've been told that it is, yeah, hate to break it to you, it's not. You can feel good and make things go away and squash them down and deny them only so long until they come up again and again and again and again and again and again and again for reliefs. Acknowledging how you feel about this is a really, really great first step. All of these feelings that are coming up so that you may release them. You could choose to see this as a real blessing, in fact, even if it's highly uncomfortable in the moment. It's an attitude that you could choose to adopt. This will not be the last time that you hear this. If you tune in again to this live stream, it won't be the last time you hear this from me. At some point in your journey, it could be right now, it could be years from now, this will make sense to you. And whatever your spirituality looks like, you will begin to heed the words of the Course and begin to work through this. What are we doing when we're working through that? We're clearing barriers. We're shining the light on them and they're disappearing. We've got a thick wall of clouds around us, most of us, yes. And it's about dissipating that a little bit at a time. So it really is one moment at a time, one choice to extend love at a time. So I hope that you may do that today. And hopefully there was something of value in these words that sticks with you. And my hope is that it inspires you to practice, whatever that looks like. All right. So let me tune in here and say hello to those of us that are watching here. I'm on Enlightened World Network. And by the way, feel welcome to leave comments, questions here on the live stream. I will get to them throughout the day. So if I don't get to you in the next couple of minutes here, feel welcome to comment or leave a question anyway, and I will see it and I will respond as I bring the page up here. Yes, thank you all for tuning in. All right, so the special focus today has been on special relationships. Tomorrow, we're going to pick right back up with the workbook for students, but understand that this is pure non-dualism. We're not two. There is no separation of any kind. And if you take nothing else from these words, then allow that to ping around, allow that to reverberate in your mind. There is no separation at all of any kind. Period. Period, mic drop. All right, we'll see you all